What's up, everybody? It's finally here, January 5th, which means the new playtest from Paizo has been officially announced, Guns and Gears, which means we get two new classes to playtest, the Gunslinger and the Inventor, which is a brand new class to Pathfinder 2nd edition. So let's hop into the Gunslinger for this video and see what they changed with it. So we see in front of us right now the, concept art or the art for the Gunslinger Iconic, which is kind of strange because they don't really have, this is the blunderbuss cannon weapon over here. Definitely a unique look. Now, the Gunslinger was a class that was in Pathfinder 1st edition. It worked similar to how Swashbucklers did back in the day, where Swashbucklers had panache points, but Gunslingers had grit points, and they could perform daring deeds to either gain these points back. And Gunslingers was always one of those classes that people liked, but they either went full Gunslinger, or you went about 5 levels in, got that dexterity 2 damage ability, and then just kind of multi-classed out into what you actually wanted to become. So let's see how they changed this class. Alright, Gunslinger, searing flask, clawing of black smoke. Definitely, it's always been a flashy class. Dexterity makes sense. 8 plus your con, so you're not that beefy. So about, I think a rogue is about 8, so you don't want to be tanking as a Gunslinger. Expert in perception, you get proficiency in all the stats, fortitude, reflex, and will. Expert in simple firearms and crossbows, martial firearms, crossbows, and advanced. So you have all you're trained to all your firearms and crossbows, which means you can also be a gunslinger and use a crossbow as well. Alright. Key terms. Flourish, that's one term that we've seen already in Pathfinder. It's an action you're going to do once per turn. You can't do 2 flourishes in 1 turn. Misfire. That was a thing in 1E where you would, if you roll within the misfire range on your attack, you're going to actually misfire. And jam 2 misfires, it would break. So let's see. If you attempt to fire a firearm that was used the previous day and that hasn't been cleaned and maintained since then, attempt a DC 5 flat check before making your attack roll. If you fail this misfire check, the weapon misfires and jams. The attack also becomes a critical fail, and you must use an interact action to clear the jam before you can reload and fire the weapon again. Once you spend at least an hour cleaning and maintaining the weapon, you don't need to roll for mixed fire until the next day unless otherwise effect says it. Weapon can misfire as a result of an ability. Okay. So it seems like you would probably, in most cases, only get misfires from your abilities. It seems like you probably would clean your weapons day to day. That shouldn't be an issue, and it's a DC 5 flat check. Press. Actions with this trait follow up an early attack. We've seen this before. And the Ranger class, it means you must you can only do these if you already have an attack penalty on you. So, Gunslinger's Way. All gunslingers have a particular way that they follow, a combination of philosophy and combat style that defines how they fight. So this is kind of your specialization as we've seen in other classes. And we have 3 different types. The Way of the Drifter, which, by the way, this sounds really badass. Can we talk about that for a second? You wander across the battlefield equally at home in and out of the fray. Sold. Ship it. Way of the Pistolero. You carefully maintain your distance at a duelist 10 paces with pistol in hand. And of course, Way of the Sniper. So sniping or shooting from afar, from cover. skill feats, general, skill increases, blah blah blah. Stubborn, your proficiency rank for will saves increases to expert, and if you fail a will save against a control condition, you get 1 free reroll on your next turn to kind of deal with that control condition. I'm skipping over like all the generic stuff, like your skills increase and your proficiency in your weapons increase and all that stuff. Same with weapon specialization and all that. Level 9, you get advanced deed. We've seen that in common things before. They also get evasion, level 11. Gunslinger and Legend, you get increase in proficiencies, 15th greater deeds, and so forth and so forth. Okay, so those are just your generic increases, nothing of note in those. Here we go. Way of the Drifter. You're a wandering traveler from land to land with your gun and a melee weapon as company. Whether you learn to fight with a cutlass and pistol as a Shackles pirate, master the hand cannon and katana in Minkai, or practice with a clan dagger and dueling pistol in Dongun Hold. I don't know what that is offhand actually. Movement and flexible use of your weapons help you win battles. So you train in acrobatics, and you get 3 deeds. Into the fray. So, trigger, you roll initiative. You know trouble can look around every corner and your hands never stray far from your holsters. You can interact to draw a ranged weapon and they can interact to draw a one-handed melee weapon. So what this means is you technically don't have to walk around with your weapons out. If there's combat, you automatically go and you just draw as part of this interact action. As your first action on your next turn, which I guess would be your first actual turn, you can stride towards an enemy you can perceive as a free action. If you can't perceive any enemies or can't end your movement closer to one, you can't stride into it. So basically, you get a free move action if you kind of hit enemies. So interact, draw, next turn, move in. Advanced deed, so at 9th level, you're wielding a loaded firearm or crossbow and a one-handed melee weapon. So I want you guys to read this because this is actually bananas. You hurl your melee weapon at an opponent, then fire a projectile into the weapon, causing it to deal additional damage and bounce back to your grasp. So what this means is say you throw a dagger at someone, you shoot a pistol, and it actually hits the dagger, like the back of the dagger, and propels it further into the enemy. And then the dagger actually will fly back into your hand. So make a thrown range strike with the melee weapon, then a range strike with your firearm. Both strikes use the same penalty. If the melee weapon doesn't have the thrown trait, it gains the thrown 10 feet trait during a rebounding assault, which means you can throw any weapon then technically. So you could just be throwing like swords at 10 feet away and just bouncing it back. If both attacks are successful, the bullet hits the thrown weapon instead of your target, adding its force into a single attack. Combine the damage from both strikes using the thrown weapon's damage, obviously because the actual weapon being thrown is what's actually hitting, and you add an additional 1d6 precision damage. The rebound also causes the melee weapon to return to your hand. In any circumstance other than both attacks hitting, carry out the strikes normally. This is where it gets funny. The thrown weapon doesn't rebound and remains in the target's space as normal for thrown weapons. So if you throw a weapon and you shoot it, and if one of those two misses, the weapon doesn't come back to you. So both have to hit. Okay, this just looks flashy. Just imagine you could take like a sword, throw a sword and shoot it and it bounces back into your hand. That's very flashy. And even without all this like flashiness, it's still technically 2 attacks, 2 actions at the same penalty. So That's still pretty good. And it's not even a flourish. Level 15-1. Drifter's Wake. It's a 3-action ability. You drift across the battlefield, striking down foes as you go. Use stride. This movement doesn't trigger reactions. You can strike up to 3 times at any point during your movement. Each attack must target a different enemy and must be made with a firearm, crossbow, blah blah blah. Each attack count towards your multiple attack penalty, but your multiple attack penalty doesn't increase until you have made all your attacks. So what this means is you can walk, say 25, maybe you have something that gives you 30 feet movement. You can walk 25 feet, and as you're walking at any point, you can shoot 3 times. Right? Yeah. 3 different people. So this kind of look, if you're gonna imagine it like in a roleplay perspective, you're just like walking through a room and you're just like boom, boom, boom. That's pretty cool. I'm curious how they handle. I'm curious how they handle that with like reloading, but we'll see that later. Hopefully. Way of the Pistolero. So this is the pistol dueling, classic dueling type. You get Deception and Intimidation, or Intimidation, your choice. And we'll see those deeds. 10 paces. So again, you roll initiative, it triggers. You gain a +2 to your initiative roll. Which happens, I guess, just flat out always happens. And you can draw your weapon. Part of it. As your first action, you get a 10-foot step. So it's similar to the Into the Fray one, except Into the Fray, you can draw both weapons, no bonus, and you get a free full stride. Here, it's only 1 weapon, bonus, and only 10 feet. Pistolero's Retort. A foe within either your reach or your weapon's first range increment critically fails an attack roll against you. You punish your foe's failure, you make a strike against them. So that's pretty much an attack of opportunity with a ranged weapon if they critically fail. That's nice. That's just... Those of you that see my attack of opportunity video, add that to the list. And then finish the job. 1 action. Your last action was a failed strike with a firearm and crossbow held in 1 hand. So your last attack failed. It sets you up for another one. Make a strike with your other hand using a second loaded firearm, crossbow, melee weapon, whatever. Your multiple attack penalty doesn't apply to this strike. Interesting. So that means pretty much if you miss with 1 attack, you can use, as long as it's in your other hand, this attack doesn't have multiple attack penalty. It hits full attack. Alright, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Nothing as flashy as the Drifter, but still some good stuff. And of course, Way of the Sniper. No surprise for anybody there. You get Stealth. And I think one of the coolest names for a deed. 1 shot, 1 kill. Trigger, you roll Stealth for your initiative. Your first shot is the deadliest. You interact to draw your firearm. Makes sense. On your first turn, the first strike you make with that weapon that hits deals 1d6 damage additional. This goes up to 2d6 at 9th and 3d6 at 15th. So, a little extra damage on your first shot. 9th, Vital Shot. 2 action move. Your careful shot against your unsuspecting opponent pierces a vital organ. Make a range strike. If the target is flat-footed, there's an extra die of weapon damage, and the foe takes persistent bleed damage equal to the amount of bonus damage listed from 1 shot, 1 kill. So, this is a level 9 thing, and the 9th level it goes up to 2d6, so that means that the bleed alone is 2d6. there's an extra die of damage, and the target is flat-footed, which, if you're in stealth, they probably are. But even if they're not in stealth, making someone flat-footed gives you so much big bonus here. You really want to work with your team to always get someone flat-footed. And then Ghost Shot. Make a firearm or crossbow strike. If you're hidden, undetected, or unobserved by the target, so hiding, the strike deals additional damage equal to the precision damage from one shot, one kill. After the strike, you don't automatically become observed. So pretty much you gain a free one shot, one kill like damage, but you don't blow your cover. There's a flourish, so you're going to get one ghost shot per round. That means one shot per round, you can just kind of stay hidden. But I think that fits the sniper way. Now let's go into the feats. The feats, as we know, are we're looking into feats for like the Magus and the Summoner. So let's see what these kind of feats look to be. Covering fire. Cover fire. You're wielding a loaded weapon. I'm just gonna say weapon from now on. You lay down suppressing fire to protect your allies and pin down your opponents. You make a firearm attack. You must decide whether to duck behind the cover, no action, or not before you roll your attack roll. If they duck, it gives them a +4 AC bonus from the cover, but they get a -2 penalty to all their range attacks till the end of their next turn. If they choose not to duck, the strike functions normally. So basically, you can force someone to kind of have to hide behind cover, making their attacks worse for their next turn. Alright. Firearm Ace. This one's probably going to be everyone's level 1 feat, I would say, for most people. When you're wielding a firearm and interact to reload it, you gain a +2 bonus to the damage roll on your next strike with that weapon. If it's a simple firearm, increase the damage die size for that attack by 1 step. You must make the attack before the end of your turn, or these benefits are lost. So I think we have a similar feat for this crossbow ace. This is the firearm version of it. So basically you reload, you get 2 extra damage, and you do 1 bigger die of damage for simple firearms. So if you're using those, definitely going to be picking up Firearm Ace. Hit the dirt. Someone makes a ranged strike against you. You leap to avoid them, getting a +2 bonus to your AC. Regardless of whether or not the actual attack hits you, you land prone. So basically you just jump and just hit the deck. Maybe useful. I don't know how useful that would be. Sword and Pistol. You're experienced in combining melee attacks with shots from a firearm, quickly adapting your range and style to the current situation. When you make a ranged strike against an opponent within your melee reach, using a firearm or crossbow, so pretty much shooting someone who's right next to you, that opponent becomes flat-footed against your next melee attack. When you strike the opponent with a melee weapon, the next ranged strike you make against that opponent doesn't trigger reactions that would trigger only on a ranged attack, but not a melee attack. So pretty much to sum this up, you can either attack with your melee weapon first, and then not provoke when you shoot them with your pistol, or shoot them with your pistol and make them flat-footed to your melee attack. Pretty good. Pretty good feat, I must say. Second level. Assisting Shot. Press. Make a strike with a firearm or crossbow. If the strike hits, the next creature other than you to attack the same target gains a +1 bonus to their roll, or +2 if it was a crit. But pretty much, you shoot somebody, and you give a bonus to the next person to hit them. Blast a lock. Just shooting a lock, basically. You make a roll against the DC required to pick the lock. You either open, 2 successes, make it harder, and so forth. This is a weird feat because I feel like it makes you question, why couldn't you just shoot the lock yourself? Like, there's gonna be situations with this feat when someone's gonna ask, why can't I just shoot the lock? Why do I need a feat to shoot the lock? That's my question with this one. Pistol 12. In Deception, so this is kind of definitely your pistolero type character. You make a feint against an opponent within the required weapon's first range increment. And on a success or critical success, they are flat-footed against your melee and range attacks. So pretty much, you twirl your pistol and it gives you a free feint, basically. Quick draw. Draw your weapon and attack with the same motion. Not bad. Pretty standard, but... Risky reload. So this one's a good one. When you go to reload your weapon, you can reload and automatically make a strike with that weapon. If the strike fails, the firearm misfires, but it pretty much saves you like an extra action potentially. There's a flourish, keep that in mind. Wow, pretty cool one. Warning shot. This is pretty much similar to pistol twirl, but this one's intimidation. You intimidate from a range, and you just boom, you shoot it in the air and just demoralize somebody. Alchemical shot. So you pretty much take some sort of alchemical bomb, throw it onto your ammunition, and then it fires. It pretty much does the damage of that. Black powder boost. This one's funny. While dashing, you fire your weapon behind you to speed yourself along. So you either give yourself 10 additional feet horizontal or vertical distance. So you pretty much shoot to give yourself a boost to your leap. And of course, running reload, you stride and reload in one action. Cauterize. Pretty much you press your gun to a wound to kind of stop the bleeding effect. Pretty good. I don't know for you guys, but you guys bleed damage can add up slowly. Always good for that kind of ability. Pistol levels challenge, flourish, and is aware of the pistol level specific. You call out to somebody, it's one action, and you must make a choice of deception or intimidation check. And if you succeed, both you and the opponent gain a +2 bonus to damage rolls against each other. And as it goes up to 3 or 4. So pretty much you challenge somebody and you just both do more damage to each other, basically. If you critically fail the deception or intimidate, you become frightened 1. And you can only have one challenge at a time. Reloading strike. This is the way of the drifter one. You're wielding a firearm or crossbow, and your other hand either wields a one-handed weapon or is empty. You attack and then reload your gun in one fluid moment. Strike an opponent within reach with your melee weapon, and then interact to reload. You don't need a free hand. So basically, you essentially are attacking someone with like a sword, and you're reloading your gun at the same time in one action. So you're hitting, reloading from one action, turn around, shoots, second action. So there's a flourish. There's a lot of flourishes, so we need to keep portion of that. Scatter Blast. Your winning weapon has a scatter trait, so like a blunderbuss, those kind of weapons. It just increases the range for the weapon. If you miss, it misfires, keep that in mind. If you critically fail, it just explodes in your face. Shattering Shot, this is the way of the sniper one. This one is when if you have a weapon that has one of those alchemical bombs that we talked about. You fling it into the air and then shoot it, causing it to rain down basically. You throw a bomb to a corner of a square. All creatures in the burst of the bomb take splash damage equal to the precision damage one shot, one kill deals. So level 6, so it's 1d6 at a time. So pretty much you can do a 15-foot AoE blast. Kind of weak, but not terrible. Grit and Tenacity. You call upon deep reserves, toughness. You can reroll a fortitude or will save as a reaction to +2. Paired shots. So this is if you're having two pistols or two crossbows or however. This pretty much is where you make 2 attacks, same penalty, and then you kind of add the damage before applying any sort of damage resistance and that kind of stuff. So that's classic. There's many classes that have a similar feat. Return Fire. So if you remember, Hit the Dirt, that was the one where you jumped, where you kind of like jumped and like ducked basically. Someone attacked you. This one is the upgrade version. As you're ducking and jumping, you make a shot with your weapon against the person attacking you. So if you're gonna pick Hit the Dirt, you should definitely pick Return Fire. There's no question about it. Shooter's Aim. You take an extra moment to carefully align your aim and breathing. Make a ranged weapon attack. +2 bonus to the attack roll and ignore the concealment. And if it's an unsteady weapon, you don't take the penalty for using it unsteadily. So pretty much almost like a sniper type, and like a sniper like breathing kind of. You 2 actions from 1 attack, but you can ignore concealment if it's an issue. So pretty good. Smoke Curtain. You load an extra dose of black powder, and you pretty much create a smoke screen in your effect around you, 20 foot per center on your location. Everyone's concealed within it, and it only lasts for 1 round. Keep in mind, if you critical fail in this shot, it does misfire. Cold Shot. So this was a variant rule in 1E, but now it's an actual feat in 2E, where you pick specific body parts to hit. Arms, Enfeebled 2. On a critical hit, it's also Enfeebled 1 for a minute. The head, Stupefied 2. Same thing, Stupefied 1 for a minute on a crit. Legs, -10 speed penalty, or -5 for a minute on a crit. And wings, 20 feet on a hit, 40 feet on a crit. It drops. And it's gradual enough that they don't take falling damage from it. But you can drop them down at least. Deflecting Shot. Reaction. An ally within your first range increment of your firearm is hit by an attack, and you can see the attacker. So pretty much you can kind of, as a reaction, give an ally +2 to the AC against an attack. You can use this after the result is revealed, so you know if the +2 will actually make a difference. Not bad. And this is redirecting shot. So you have deflecting and redirecting. You make an attack roll with your firearm against the target who's being attacked. And you can ally can choose to either use your attack roll over theirs. So pretty much you can help someone with their attack. Trick shot. You make a strike with a firearm against an AC of 25 or more, depending on what the GM wants. And you create one of the following effects. So pretty much you can either dislodge an object, you could blow something up. Here's my issue with trick shot. And it's the same issue I have with the blasting the lock one. What is stopping somebody from saying, I want to shoot the barrel? As a GM, are you going to be like, well, you don't have trick shot. Okay, I just want to shoot the barrel to blow it up. Why do I need a level 10 feat to shoot the barrel? This should be a rule. This shouldn't be a feat, in my opinion. So, we'll continue on. Hopefully there's not many more of those. Glancing shot. Pretty much, if you miss on this shot, it would have started to do some damage. So, probably not gonna take. Probably won't take that much. Incredible Ricochet. Make an attack against a person. It's a press. So this means this is not your first attack this round. You make a ranged weapon attack and it ignores cover for this one. So basically, your first attack hits, and you can kind of ricochet a bullet off a wall, because you know where they are now, kind of. That could be useful. Penetrating fire. So this is, you want to shoot and then someone giving cover to someone else. It ignores any lesser cover that they provide. All damage only one, so it damages goes to both of them, but you shoot two people with one blast, basically. Shooter's camouflage. Shoot either natural or urban terrain. In the chosen terrain, you can hide and sneak even without cover or being concealed. So pretty much, it's the sniper feat if you want to hide. True grit. If you reroll, it's granted. So grit and tenacity was the one that allowed you to reroll a fortitude or a will save. If it's a success, it's a critical success instead. If it's a failure, if it's a critical failure, it's only a failure. So, if you're struggling with saves, I would pick that one up. 14th level, Dance of Thunder. I always like looking at the 3 action ones. It's always interesting. Your steps echo with the thunderous retort of exploding black powder as you dance a dance of death. Use any of the following actions you choose in any order. Step, strike, reload. If you attempt to strike and it succeeds, you can repeat these 3 actions again in any order. If you attempt to strike in the second set and succeed, you can repeat the actions one last time. After using Dance of Thunder, you become fatigued for 1 minute. So pretty much it means you can take a 5-foot step, shoot, reload. If the shoot hits, you can go again. If that one hits, you get 1 more shot. So pretty much it's you kind of going step, boom, step, boom, step, boom, and 3 hits. So it doesn't mention the multiple attack penalty, so that is a question that they have to probably clear up. If the multiple attack penalty is applied to this or not. That is a question I have for them. If it isn't, then it's insane. If it is, it's still pretty good. Because you essentially get a chance to do 3 attacks at a result of being fatigued. So you can't use it that often, but once per battle, just go ham. Showstopper. Your twirling weapons create a distracting dance that your enemies find difficult. So this is pretty much pistol twirl targeting one person within your range increment. This targets everybody in your range increment. So a better version of pistol twirl. 2-weapon flurry. You're wielding 2 weapons, each in a different hand. Strike twice, both with each with once with each weapon. So 2 attacks from one, but they must be different weapons. Fatal bullet. When you critically hit with a firearm that has the fatal trait, you deal an additional die of the appropriate size and damage. So if it's a fatal D12, you do an additional D12. So just more damage. Hair trigger. Initial D that allows you to interact to draw a weapon. So this would be the Drifter and the Pistolero. The sniper one did not have initial D that lets you draw a weapon. When using your initial D, instead of interacting to draw a weapon, you can strike with it instead. And if you do hit, it allows you to be flat-footed until the end of your first turn. Okay, so, and there's a special part. So what this means is, for the Pistolero one, if you already have your pistol in your hand, the initial D doesn't do anything for you really, because you're +2 to initiative, and you can get a free move action. You get a free 10-foot step, but you don't get to draw your weapon because you already have one in your hand. So you can shoot it for free instead. For the Drifter gets 2 interacts to draw. You can't shoot twice. So you could shoot one of them, or you can draw one and shoot one as part of this. So that could show some use, especially if you're not walking around with guns, which you probably... If you're not in a dungeon, you probably shouldn't be walking around with guns drawn. That's a pretty good one. Instant return. Pretty much you catch the projectile, put it in your weapon, and you throw it and you shoot it back. Obviously, it has to match what weapon you're having. I would say in most cases, this is crossbow only. Guns don't get that much action I've seen in APs, in Paizo material. If you're using a gun and your DM is not using many enemies that have guns as well, don't pick this up. If it's a gun-heavy campaign, it could be worth it. Piercing critical. Your attacks with your preferred weapon deal extra devastating wounds. You pretty much crit if you roll a 19 on the die. So this gives you extra thing. Unerring shot. When attacking with a ranged weapon, you ignore the penalty from its range increment. And if it has cover, it just ignores it. 20th level. Perfect readiness. You're permanently quickened, so you pretty much gain a free action to step or reload every turn. And Slinger's reflexes gives you a free additional reaction to use on any of your Gunslinger reactions. And we'll just quickly look over the firearm pistols that they have. So the musket, 2 hands, 1d6. Pistols, 1d4. So remember that firearm ace, that would make it a 1d6. Keep that in mind. And cannons, 1d4, also goes up to 1d6 modular. Arquebus, 1d8. Blunderbuss, 1d8. Dueling pistol, 1d6. They all have 10 rounds. So that's how they do it. Okay. Because I was worried about all these different... I wanted to make sure that the pistols weren't single-shot pistols. The single-shot pistols would have made all these moves irrelevant. But that means 10 rounds means like Dance of Thunder, the Drifter's Way, all those different moves. You can shoot 3-4 bullets in one round, no problem. And let's look at Run Steady. There's all the different descriptions for all the different weapons and all the different traits. Concealable, modular, scatter. Sniper means it does more damage to flat-footed enemies. Unsteady is difficult to aim without stabilizing it. The only unsteady weapon we have is the Arquebus, which is a super long rifle. Makes sense because it has an 80-foot range. So pretty much the Arquebus is your sniper rifle, basically. Alright. So, with that, what do we think about the Gunslinger? I am very surprised. I thought the Gunslinger would have been a class that, similar to what they did with the Swashbuckler, where Swashbucklers in 2E have to kind of gain panache, kind of pull off their abilities. I thought Gunslingers would have something similar where they would have to gain grit to pull off all their deeds, because that's kind of what the 1E Gunslinger had to do. Instead, they got rid of all that, and it's more different sort of tricks and different ways to use pistols. There's a lot of focus on dual wielding, be it 2 pistols or pistol and a melee weapon. They're really leaning on that. There's not much for the 2-handed weapons right now, I feel like it. That if you're going 2-handed weapon, you're probably going sniper, let's just be honest. The other ones don't seem to really lend themselves towards you. Overall though, I think it's actually a pretty solid class. I think that the Gunslinger, once released, is going to be a close staple. Now it depends on obviously your world and how guns will play a part in it. But overall, I definitely think Gunslingers are going to be one of the, just on paper, they look really solid to me. What are your guys' thoughts on Gunslingers? If you guys have made some Gunslingers or are going to make some for a playtest, let me know in the comments down below what you guys' thoughts are on the class. And be sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and I'll have another video up shortly for the Inventor class, the next class in the Guns and Gears playtests. Thank you guys for watching.